What is going on, everyone? Welcome back in to Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube, and today I want to talk about the top 10 college basketball teams to most likely to return back to the 2020 NCAA Tournament. But before I get into that, I'd like to say congratulations to the Virginia Cavaliers for winning it all this year. Congratulations to Virginia. It was definitely a year of redemption, and they totally earned it. Over a year ago, losing to UMBC in the first round, the first ever number one to lose to a 16, but a year later, they come into the tournament and they win it all. So congratulations to your 2019 national title champions, the Virginia Cavaliers. But today I want to talk about the top 10 college basketball teams with the most potential to return back to the 2020 NCAA Tournament. All these teams had to miss out on the 2019 NCAA Tournament to qualify. They are ranked in order of my projections, from highest to lowest, and the team that I feel that has the most potential to get back into the 2020 NCAA Tournament would be the Arizona Wildcats. Arizona, they have the projected 11th highest odds to win next year's national title game at 25-1 odds. Arizona, they're trying to rebound after a disappointing 17-15 record to close out 2019. That finished with a record of in conference play with an 8-10 conference record in the Pac-12 this season for Arizona, and they finished in 8th place in the Pac-12 in 2019. Arizona, they missed out on their first NCAA tournament this season since 2012, as that was only their third NCAA tournament that they've missed in a span of 34 years. The Arizona Wildcats, they will most certainly be back in that AP Top 25 poll right before the season tips off in the fall of 2019. However, this question still looms. Will Sean Miller be back to be the head coach of Arizona in the fall of 2019? We're still unsure about that. But nevertheless, Arizona is still bringing in the number one ranked recruiting class in the nation for the 2019-2020 season. Both of these players should make an impact immediately when they step on the court. That being top 10 guards from the ESPN Top 100 recruiting class, Josh Green and Nico Mannion. Nico Mannion, he was just awarded the National Senior Boys Basketball Athlete of the Year by the National High School Coaches Association. Josh Green and Nico Mannion, they'll join the top 3 scorers next season for Arizona, as these are the top 3 scorers from this past season for the Wildcats: Brandon Randolph, Brandon Williams, and Chase Jeter. Moving on to the number 2 team here that I have projected that could be back into the 2020 NCAA Tournament, that would be the Memphis Tigers. So, Penny Hardaway just finished his first season as head coach, and I'd say it was a success. 22 wins he won this season for Memphis. They took the Houston Cougars down to the wire in the American semifinal game. Memphis, they're trying to be that powerhouse team that they were during the John Calipari era from 2005 to 2009 with all this big style recruiting right here. You could say, how in the world would Memphis ever make it into the tournament when they lose 4 starters from a team that finished 5th in the American this season? Well, they're doing it with a top 12 ranked recruiting class in the nation, and is led by the number 1 recruit in the country, James Wiseman. Now moving on to the number 3 team here that I projected to make the tournament for 2020, that being the Texas Longhorns. Texas finished the season with a 16-16 record, but then they finished it on a high note, winning the next 5 in a row to win the NIT title. The Texas Longhorns lose 2 of their leading scorers in Kerwin Roach and Dylan Osakowski, but Courtney Ramey, who played well down the stretch, should be back. They just lost Jackson Hayes, who just declared that he'll go to the NBA draft. He just declared that today. But nevertheless, Texas Longhorns, they're heading into the off-season with a ton of momentum in their way. It's going to be pretty interesting to look forward to Shaka Smart's squad for next season, as Shaka Smart brings in the top recruiting class into the Big 12, and their recruiting class also ranks 13th in college basketball. The number 4 team that I think that could possibly be back in the 2020 NCAA Tournament would be the Xavier Musketeers. Xavier, they got really hot down the stretch as well, winning 7 out of their last 9 games to end the season. They also advanced to the NIT, but the NIT run came up a little bit short, losing to the team I just talked about, the Texas Longhorns. Xavier, they returned their top 4 scorers from this past season with Najee Marshall, Paul Scruggs, Tyreek Jones, and Quentin Gooden. Travis Steele's first season as head coach of Xavier Well, it was basically a success to him as they had a losing record basically throughout the entire conference play, but they ended the season strong on a good note. Seven wins out of their last 9 games for the Xavier Musketeers. Plus, Xavier also brings in the number 20 recruiting class next season, and they also bring in Ohio University transfer Jason Carter. Jason Carter ranked 9th in the MAC conference in points scored per game, averaging 16.5 points per game this past season. Now to the number 5 team that I think that most likely have a chance to get back into the 2020 NCAA Tournament. Number 5 is the North Carolina State Wolfpack. North Carolina, they just barely missed out on this past season's tournament. They barely made the cut. They barely missed the cut on Selection Sunday as they got into the NIT, but possibly they'll be next season's St. Mary's. For North Carolina State, they'll lose their leading scorer and guard, Torrin Dorn, but basically the rest of the team will be back for NC State. Markel Johnson, who averaged 13 points per game, will look to rebound and up that total for next season. So North Carolina State will retain their top 6 scorers right behind Torrin Dorn for next season's squad. Number 6 will be the Creighton Blue Jays on this list. Creighton, they're another Big East team, same as Xavier, that got really hot towards the end of their season. Creighton won the last 5 out of 6 games in the Big East, as they only have 2 seniors that they'll be graduating off this Creighton Blue Jays squad. Both of those seniors averaged below 5 points per game this past season. Creighton will return all 5 starters from last season's team, so watch out for the Creighton Blue Jays for next season, as they should be back into the 2020 NCAA Tournament. The number 7 team here that I have projected that could possibly be back in the 2020 tournament is the Colorado Buffaloes. Colorado, another team that ended the season hot, winning 5 out of their last 6 games, only to lose in the Pac-12 tournament to the Washington Huskies. They'll be bringing back their top 7 scorers. They'll only lose 1 senior on their roster for the Colorado Buffaloes. These 2 players will make an impact for Colorado for next season, hopefully. Tyler Bay and McKinley Wright IV. Both of these players averaged 13 points per game this past season. Also, watch out for this player. 7-foot center Dallas Walton. He should be back 100% after missing this past season to a knee injury. So Colorado, a very experienced team for next season. The experience definitely will be there to bring them back to the tournament for the first time since 2016. Another one of those Pac-12 teams looking to get back into the tournament, I have number 8 on my list here. It will be the USC Trojans. USC, they finished this past season with a 16-17 record, but they are bringing in the number 4 recruiting class in the country for UNC. So a lot of freshmen joining the squad for UNC. The Trojans will have 2 top 20 freshmen on their roster, along with 2 other 4-star recruits. USC, they'll also add Quinton Adlesh, a transfer from Columbia University who averaged 13.5 points per game this past season. The number 9 team on my list over here will be the Davidson Wildcats from the Atlantic 10 Conference. Davidson only graduates 1 player from their roster, and that player only managed to score around 2 points per game this past season. So Davidson brings back basically their entire roster, and they have some strong players on it as well that can be a nightmare for teams in the tournament if they get there. Davidson will get back their star players, who are 2 of them are top 5 in points per game in the A10. John Axel Goodmanson, who averaged 17.2 points per game this past season. He had a good amount of double-doubles on the season. He also had 1 triple-double for Davidson last season. And he had a couple of near triple-doubles that he just barely missed out on. Also, Davidson bringing back this top 5 scorer in the A10 as well, averaging 16.8 points per game. That is Kellen Grady. So Davidson, they have those 2 strong players as well as 2 other strong freshmen from this past season who rank behind Goodmanson and Grady in point scorer per game, as those 2 freshmen from this past season are Luka Bragovic and Luke Frampton. And the last team closing out my top 10 here that I think that has potential to get back into the 2020 NCAA tournament would be the Illinois Fighting Illini. Illinois, they showed some hope last season. It was in the middle stretch of the Big Ten play where Illinois tallied off 4 games in a row that they won midway through Big Ten conference play. They managed to win against big, strong teams that were in the tournament, such as the Michigan State Spartans they beat. They also beat the Maryland Terrapins. They beat the Minnesota Golden Gophers by 27 points, and they also won against the Ohio State Buckeyes. So Illinois, they should be in the mix for the tournament, possibly bubble fringe, as they can hope to get back into the tournament, as they haven't been into the tournament in the past 7 years. But Illinois, it all relies on this guy. Top 35 recruit from a year ago, and soon-to-be sophomore Ayo Dosunmu. It all relies on him. If Dosunmu does not declare for the NBA draft, then Illinois could have a team that they could take to the tournament if Dosunmu stays with the Illini. But if Dosunmu goes, then their chances are slim to get back into the tournament. But if Ayo is back, Illinois has basically back 4 out of their starting 5 basically back for next season, and they'll look to see if they can make a run for the first time in the tournament, for the first time in 7 years. So that is basically a wrap of who I project to be the top 10 teams to bounce back from their 2019 seasons to make the 2020 tournament after they missed it from this past season. Honorable mentions go out to these teams who could possibly be in the tournament as well: the Georgetown Hoyas, the Harvard Crimson, and the Dayton Flyers. Let me know in the comment section below any of the teams that I missed, or any teams that you think that could possibly make it into next year's tournament in 2020 that missed out on this past season as well. And before you go, make sure to hit that like button down below. Subscribe as well if you're new to my channel, as I call play-by-play of basketball games as well. And I'll also be posting college basketball videos on my channel in the off season here on Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube. So I'll be on vacation for the next few days. I'll be going away, but I should be back around next Friday or so with a play-by-play next Friday, April 19th, and also on Easter Sunday with a play-by-play of the NBA playoffs. But also check out in the link down below in the description to another video that I also made. It's about the 10 of the longest NCAA tournament droughts by major conference teams, so check that out. I'll put that in the description below in a link, as this has been another video Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube, my way too early prediction video of the teams who I think that will be back for the 2020 NCAA tournament that did not make it in 2019. Thank you guys so much, and this is Behind the Arc Basketball on YouTube.